And we're now going to move on to the second section of today's trade conference. So first off, we will have a presentation from Humphrey Oriakh, Managing Director and CEO of PAC Capital, who will be talking about the value proposition of PAC Capital. Great, we can see your presentation.
The existing protocols. As PAC, we'll be talking about financial mediation, as we are looking at the emerging opportunities from the AFTA era where Africa is emerging into. Today we know that Africa has the largest free trade area today in the world, and that is a market that we all need to tap in, albeit having the right infrastructures, having the right policy in place which has been the various countries have been committed to put in place. And of course, we know the right infrastructures requires financing as well. If we look at sub-Saharan Africa, the trade is contributing about 57% on the average in the last 10 years, from 2010 up to now. But however, we also know that there is a lot of opportunities in having this increase and then capitalizing on that big size that we have as Africa. But again, we also then need to look at what we have to do in terms of putting the right infrastructure in order to mine the values, the potential values that we have that is inherent within the country. There we have to then look at the infrastructure deficit today. How without the finance? The African Development Bank is putting a deficit of about 108 billion financing gap, of course, requiring about 170 to finance. That has to come from somewhere, because today, if you look at production of, say, cocoa, for instance, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, and Nigeria accounts for most of the world cocoa, almost up to 70%. But if you want the best chocolate, the best product today, you have to go to Switzerland, who do not even grow a single bean. So that means that for us to have that market within Africa, then we have to provide that infrastructure that will enable us to add that value addition. A lot of various speakers has spoken today. Mr. Kola will also mention that in terms of value addiction, and not just providing and creating the raw material. If I want to have a product from my neighbor, say from Cameroon, to Nigeria, it is not just about because it's Cameroon. It has to have that capacity to produce what I want before I can import from Cameroon, or I can import from Egypt, for instance. So, which is why infrastructure is required, to have the machinery, to have the right technology to be able to capture that market. Otherwise, all these we'll be seeing will just be more or less reduced, and we'll still go back to having to provide and just be a raw material base for the world. But that has to change, and that is what is currently going on, and financing is required to have this put probably in place. Today, we know what this deficit is creating for us. It is hindering our competitiveness. We talked about the tariff, for instance, and then the rule of origin and rest. But the rule of origin, for instance, will make good impact if the cost of production locally is reduced. So, but because of lack of infrastructure, there's no power. We have high cost of production. Productivity is also reduced, and there's a lot of inefficiencies all around. For us to have the most impact, all that has to be mitigated, and the right infrastructure has to be put in place. We have all these gains that we need to get, or that will be that are the potentials from the AFTA. They can only become realizable when the right. I keep mentioning infrastructure because that is what you need. Vehicles, for instance. One of the speakers talked about producing vehicles, for instance. How many African countries have that capacity? Today, lots is required for logistics, require a vessel to move product, goods around from place to place. Where how would those be provided? Can I rely on my African brother country to get the trucks from, or to get the even site for maintaining vessels and ships around Africa is also limited. We find a situation where we still have to sail vessels across to other continents for them to be maintained. Same thing also goes with airline. How many centers, if you want to do seat checks and the rest, how many countries also have this capacity to have this also done and put in place. So for us to be able to have a right economic growth that we are looking for, the integrated participation and the directorial development, of course, Africa will serve as that key center that can even feed the world from the potential that we have, the arable land that we have, if only the right structure can be put in place in terms of mechanizing our farming as well. Of course, we have challenges, and this already been more or less been mentioned, which has to do with multiple exchange rate. Thank God now that is being fixed, or a lot being done to reduce that in terms of the exchange, currency exchange, and the payment systems being put in place by the likes of Afrexim, and a lot of other institutions are also working on a similar thing. And of course, in terms of the single currency issue, which also be on the table for discussion, and that again can also help in that area. Of course, multiple traveling to various countries in Africa require multiple visas, except within certain regions, like in ECOWAS. But that again is another area that has to be then addressed. Which is where again we have PLC capital coming into. What we have seen or know is that financing is required in this area. A lot of entrepreneurs, business owners, core issue they have with their expansion, with bringing to life new project is always financing. And that is where we come in. But most times people will always, I have this difficulty in raising financing, because again, they have not maybe done certain work, they have not been able to identify that right financing partner, they've not been able to identify what they need that will attract them to a potential financial, that thing that they will make their projects to be bankable. And all of the services as PLC Capital will be able to provide, will be able to make, put those, the documentation that is required, will be able to like an event planner or a wedding that is preparing the bride for a wedding program is exactly what we do. So the value addition that we'll be able to add in those areas. We also see a situation where countries will also have to expand into other countries. We help with facilitating that. Mergers will also and acquisitions will also come in place across Africa. They will have to be spread in terms of production area, and all these require financing. Our coverage today across Africa, of course, we are resident in Nigeria as the main operating center. We are also physically registered and present in Ghana, registered in Kenya. But however, we have our footprint in almost 30 countries today in Africa, right up there at Mauritania, down to Madagascar, up again to the far west, to Cape Verde, Angola to the east, Cameroon, Ghana, Senegal, and even Angola and Mozambique. So, and that number is still counting. As a Pan-African institution, our focus is to be truly Pan-African and cover the entire country. I mean, in Africa, of course, we are looking at Africa as just a single country, and that's our goal, to be able to provide the right services and ensure that businesses are able to attract the financing, the right financing that they want in terms of pricing, in terms of matching with respect to what their business need to offer. And we have a partnership, of course, our alliances in terms of our shareholding in Bank has also given us good insight in, as they be also one of the financing banks that we also partner with today. Our services provide project and infrastructure finance, structured trade finance. Of course, on the capital market, we do debt and equity raise. And for right now, as post-COVID, as it is, a lot of MPS are going to arise from different institutions, and those will require restructuring. They will require some forbearance and some other things, and that is where we can overcome. We can help the banks, we can help the borrowers to be able to structure their loans and to make them performing. And that we are able to do by putting in place the right structure and identifying the turnaround that they need to put into their business to be able to do that. Our key financing partner today, there's no doubt about it. We have so many similarities. We are Pan-Africa in focus. Our colors are almost the same as Ecobank, and it leaves no doubt with their coverage in 34, 35 countries today in Africa. Makes them that right partner to deal with. Today in Nigeria, of course, they are key to us. They're in Togo, in Zambia, and we are still counting. Of course, we also saw the presentation from the group CEO. 847 branches and all that makes them that right local partner for us as in Africa. And then, of course, we have up there, for instance, Bank, the AFC, the KFW of this world, the DBSA, and the AFDB as other fund partners. One key thing I have to stress here again, as we are an advisory firm and an arranging firm, we do not provide financing directly from our balance sheet. However, our role is to mediate. Our role is to assist and help in putting together the right financing, the right structure that is required, that will make all these institutions be attracted to providing that right financing. It is only when we have right financing in place that is when we'll be able to block the infrastructural deficits that we need to meet up with that production that will then enable us to have that capacity to produce for our brothers and sisters within Africa, and even to as one Africa, also be able to export value-added products and not just raw materials as we have been doing. And it is a good thing that the African government are on speaking.
Humphrey, I'm afraid we're out of time. So if you'd just like to wrap up your comments, please.
Thanks so much. So of course, Ted, this is actually more or less the last slide, and these are our coverage, different countries where we, some selected countries where we have key and active transactions that are ongoing, in Senegal, Congo, Egypt, and Madagascar. So thank you so much, Ted. We'll await questions. There's any. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Humphrey. Really interesting to hear how your company is working as a key partner and intermediator for Ecobank. Unfortunately, we don't have time for any questions, but you can, of course, reach out to Humphrey separately. His contact details are there in the webinar brief.